So after reading some things on the internet, it's become clear that some people believe that an NBA player cannot develop his dribbling. So I've heard it from NBA coaches. I've also, one of the kind of analytics guys on the internet who I trust, have said kind of the same thing, that you rarely see a player in the NBA start as a non-ball handler or somebody who's not very good handling the ball and have them become a great ball handler. And so one of the reasons that I've seen offered to explain this is that dribbling or ball handling is something that someone has to learn at a young age, or they do not learn it at all. And this is something that I disagree with. And so I think there's two ways that we can look at this and kind of argue against this point. And so my number one is dribbling in and of itself isn't important. So you use a dribble to set up a shot or a pass. And so the players who may not exhibit improved dribbling or ball handling ability during games, it may not necessarily be because, because of the physical action of dribbling or bouncing a basketball, but they may not improve their decision-making skills with the ball. And we may attribute it to a lack of dribbling or one-on-one ability or something like that. And so the inability to improve the perceptual skills could be a number of factors, one of which could be simply not having as many opportunities in games. So if I'm a standstill, 3-and-D type catch-and-shoot shooter, how many opportunities do I get to show off my dribbling ability and to show off my decision-making? And similarly, how many opportunities do I get to improve my decision-making ability? So if I'm a typical combo guard and I want to become a point guard, maybe I spend the all off season working on my dribbling, and we'll get to that next. So I work on my dribbling, but then I get into the season and I spend the majority of my time, standing at the three-point line, catch and shoot threes. Well, how many decisions am I making compared to a point guard or even a backup point guard who comes in, has the ball in his hands, for, multiple, 60, 80 possessions a game, where he's making decisions and running the offense and so on and so forth, running pick and rolls. If you're a non-ball handler and you never run a pick and roll as a ball handler, how are you going to improve on that skill? So that to me is first, is we may be attributing a lack of decision-making ability or a lack of perceptual skills to a physical action. And it may not be that the players need to improve their actual dribbling skills, but they need to improve their ability to do something with the dribble, whether that be creating their own shot or creating a pass for somebody. And this may be improved more by watching video or playing more as a primary ball handler, whether in games or in the off-season, in pickup games, something like that, small-sided games. And so it might not be a reflection of their actual ability to bounce a basketball, but more so the more complex skills involved in ball handling in a game. The second reason that I've given why players may not show this improvement, and again, I'm not going to entirely agree with the points. They're points that have been made by people who follow the NBA a little bit closer than I do. But the second point is the practice that's used by players to develop their dribbling skills. So every year, almost every week, you see videos of NBA players working hard on their dribbling, but almost all of the practice is in a straight line. Almost all of the practice is without a defender, and oftentimes the practice is even stationary. And so the belief is, they're just improving their handles, and if they can dribble the ball quicker and have more control in a stationary or straight line situation, that's going to transfer to a game situation. And we have every season or every offseason, hundreds of NBA players do these drills. And yet we have people who follow the NBA closely who say none of them is improving. And yet we continue to do this practice year after year after year, and nobody really questions it. And even when somebody does question it, i.e. me, that person gets killed on the internet by anonymous coaches who believe that, NBA coaches or NBA players or NBA trainers know best because they work with NBA players, without any kind of evaluation of whether or not it is a good practice. And so, again, kind of, meshing the 2 points, dribbling in a game is not stationary. Dribbling in a game is not a straight line skill. And dribbling in a game is defended. And so without practicing in these situations where I need to change directions, change speeds, not just because a coach is telling me to or because I've gotten to a cone, but because I'm making a decision in relation to the defense, and potentially even in relation to my teammate or in relation to multiple defenders. So if I'm not practicing these skills, as I'm practicing the physical action of dribbling a basketball, how much is that practice going to transfer to a game? So if I'm not combining the perception and the action, how much is it going to transfer? So I might be great at bouncing a basketball, and you can watch videos of players who are great at bouncing a basketball. You can watch the N1 mixtape, players with crazy handles, but they don't make it to the NBA. And some of that, might be various things, including size or speed or something like that. But the fact is, oftentimes the players who can do the greatest drills and stationary or straight line or undefended, they can look like they have, the craziest handles, but they can't actually produce a shot or a pass out of that. So, I advocate, again, changing the practice. Don't think that a straight line ball handling drill or stationary ball handling drill is going to definitely lead to improved game dribbling or game ball handling. It may help with some specific aspects of dribbling. So if you have a lack of control, potentially a lack of quickness, I don't really think that's a problem for most players, especially who've already reached the NBA level. Certainly you can improve that, and having a really quick crossover can facilitate better game ball handling. But I don't think, if you look at the best point guards, I don't think they're the best point guards because they're the best dribblers. Most people look at Jamal Crawford as having the best crossover in the NBA, but nobody even considers him a point guard. So whether that's fair to him or not, he's more been put in a role where he's, a shooting guard. He uses his dribble to set up shots, which is how he's been effective and stayed in the league for a number of years. But again, player who's considered the best or one of the best dribblers in the NBA, but not a point guard. So just being good at dribbling doesn't necessarily equate with being a point guard. And so that's another thing that I think is often misunderstood. So to improve, one, we need to look deeper at what is it that we're trying to improve? Is it the actual physical action of dribbling a basketball, or is it the combination of the physical action with the decision making? And if we need to improve being able to do something with the basketball in a game, i.e. create a shot or create a pass, those things need to be included in our drills. And then the second part is, even if we're simply working on the physical action, we can't just go in straight lines and do stationary drills and work without a defensive player, because we have to be able to dribble against defense. We have to be able to change directions. We have to be able to change speeds. And these are all things that we have to be able to do in relation to external stimulus, and not a cone, not a flashing light, not a coach's directions. We have to be able to do these things in relation to defenders and teammates. And so when we create dribbling drills and ball handling drills, the majority of our time needs to be spent doing these drills where there is a defensive player, there is a teammate, and there is an end result, passing or shooting, that isn't just dribbling up and down the court, getting from baseline to baseline. That's not the point of dribbling in a game. And when we continue to do these drills, and nobody improves, as experts have said, I think it's time to look at the practice and really change up the practice and see if maybe there is a better way that we can develop players that does lead to improvement in game situations, that's measured not just by how many dribbles you can make in 30 seconds, but by the decisions that are made in the game, how productive you are in terms of creating passes and creating shots, and these things that are more reflective of what happens in a game environment.